Why is it so hard for the poor to get rich? Let me start with a fact. Poor people rarely get rich overnight, while middle-class individuals might fall into poverty overnight. Sometimes poor people spend their whole lives without becoming wealthy, yet second-generation rich people can quickly fall to being ordinary or even poor in just a few years. I mention this to discourage the idea of getting rich quickly, and also to help you realize that no matter how much wealth you have, it's most important to hold on to it. To improve financial literacy, it's crucial to understand why it's so hard for the poor to become rich. In this world, the most terrifying thing is not having a low starting point, but being locked at the bottom. Sometimes the ones who lock themselves in the lowest level are the individuals themselves. Many years ago, I had a debate with some young colleagues at Google about this issue. They attributed the poverty of many people to society, while I believed that blaming everything on society was a lazy approach that would never solve the problem. I told them that even the poorest among them had milk and bread to eat as children, a bathroom in their house, all sorts of electrical appliances, and even a car. Their so-called poverty was simply not being able to afford better food, not having a separate room for each child, or not being able to update their decade-old car. 20 years ago, the poverty line in the United States for a family of 4 was an annual income of less than $20,000, which could buy 2,000 pounds of eggs per month at the then price. When I was a child, my family's annual income could only buy 100 pounds of eggs, and we had to send money to support my grandparents. My American colleagues were surprised and asked if this was true. I said yes, and I added that in just over 20 years, my income had surpassed the poverty line by dozens of times, while many families in the U.S. have remained below the poverty line for generations. At that time, my American colleagues were very curious and wanted to hear my thoughts on generational poverty. I told them that this was not only true in the U.S., but also in China. Despite the government's assistance, the situation still showed little improvement because these people had 6 fundamental problems. If these issues are not solved, it's difficult to break free from poverty. These 6 problems are what I want to share with you today. The 6 fundamental problems that lead to poverty. First problem, many people, before they even become wealthy, begin to give away large amounts of money to subsidize their family and friends. Some might argue that generosity is a virtue, but let me give you an example. When you fly before takeoff, the airline will always explain safety procedures, and they tell you that in the event of oxygen mask usage, you should first put your own mask on before helping others. I think the same principle applies to poverty alleviation. Solve your own problems first, avoid becoming a burden to society, and only then help others. Today, many people emphasize filial piety, friendship, and faith. And even before they have secured their own career and financial independence, they start giving large amounts of money to family and friends. This might be a personal choice, but I would say that every penny is hard-earned, especially for those who come from poor backgrounds. If you divert your limited wealth, it means you're reducing the funds that could otherwise be used for wealth building. What could have been exponential growth turns into linear growth, or even stagnation, which is a major pitfall when it comes to earning money. This is true not just for money, but also for career development. So I personally recommend that before you help others, consider whether your own situation permits it. For example, many NBA players go bankrupt shortly after retiring, and the same happens to many Brazilian soccer players. Aside from poor financial management, a major reason is that they spend large amounts of money and time taking care of countless relatives in their hometowns. While this may not be wrong, they fail to realize that after retirement, They are undergoing a career transition that is still unstable. I believe they should at least stabilize themselves in a new industry before considering other issues. Also, if someone comes from a very poor family, or their childhood friends are from a lower social class, they need to be cautious about their relationships. A person's mindset is influenced by their surroundings. If the people around them are at a low level, it's hard to break free from that environment. Some poor people face the dilemma of being unable to break through their original social circle, even if they receive better education than their parents. They often end up being influenced by their surroundings and return to their old lifestyle and mindset. Second problem, people with a little money often rush to invest, especially in industries they don't understand. This is a common issue among American college graduates and some middle-class people in China. Honestly, when a person's savings are only 4 to 5 times their annual income, the difference between investing in good or bad options won't have much impact on their life. But some people become overly interested in investments, not just stocks and finance, but also buying a second property. This consumes not only their limited funds, but also their time and energy, which can cause them to lose focus on their career development. In other words, someone who looks at too many investment opportunities ends up not having time to think about how to develop their own career. Third problem, the mindset of consumerism, particularly premature consumption, is a major enemy of becoming wealthy. For example, young people in the US, whether they earn under $50,000 a year, around $100,000, or even $200,000, often live paycheck to paycheck. Those earning $200,000 rarely accumulate wealth. If you take a closer look at their financial situation, you'll find it's unhealthy. About 10 years ago, I observed the same phenomenon among young people in China. Several small business owners with an annual income of over $1 million yuan would spend it on luxury study trips and stays in 5-star hotels, despite the fact that they could have used that money to study in Paris for an entire year. Under the influence of such consumption patterns, their wealth would soon hit a ceiling. Fourth problem, overengagement and ineffective socializing. The business owners who spent money on luxury hotels once told me they did this because everyone in their business school circle did the same. I told them that people who don't hesitate to spend on hotels like George V are not in the same circle as people like them who actually care about money. Squeezing into such circles isn't helpful to their growth. This is similar to how many people spend too much time on socializing at various events and neglect to hone their money-making skills. Fifth problem, investing too much time in low-value or meaningless learning. Some people invest excessive time in earning irrelevant certifications or degrees with low value. Beyond professional qualifications like those for lawyers or doctors, many certifications don't offer much value. If getting a certification is too easy and lacks credibility, it won't persuade employers. Some people think a higher degree will help them land a job, but the key is whether you actually learn something useful and can apply it in your work. Another issue is spending too much time on hobbies like coffee brewing, baking, or flower arranging, which may not be helpful if one doesn't plan to turn them into a business. I'm not saying people should abandon their hobbies, but before becoming wealthy, focusing too much on side tasks that aren't aligned with your main goal of making money won't help. Sixth problem, casual entrepreneurship, especially in unfamiliar fields. Starting a business in unfamiliar industries can be much harder than expected. Many restaurants close or change owners quickly because people assume opening a restaurant is easy. But a restaurant owner once told me that their seasoning inventory alone has hundreds of varieties, and some require frequent restocking. If someone doesn't understand the field, Jumping in is likely to lead to losses, wasting both time and money. Also, with the current trend in artificial intelligence, many people who have never written a line of AI code are rushing to start AI businesses, which is much like someone who's eaten a few Cantonese dishes trying to open a Cantonese restaurant. There are other issues, such as choosing the wrong romantic partner, but they're not as critical as these 6, so I won't expand on them here. In summary, as Warren Buffett says, it's more important to make fewer mistakes than to seize opportunities.